Congratulations, everybody. Okay.
I told you, good old technology, right? All right, so while you consider resistance, I'm going to offer you a poll, which you should see on your screen in the next few seconds. So I just want you to take a moment and answer that question. Does Black History Month 2021 feel different to you than years past? I see some answers coming in. All right. Someone unmuted. I'm going to find you. Okay, great. All right. Answers still coming in. So far, 79% is saying absolutely. 21% says not really, feels about the same. Okay. Great. All right, so I just want you to keep that in mind. And like I said, consider resistance throughout this event and see if your feelings change throughout by the time we get to the end of the event. I know personally for me, Black History Month absolutely feels more important this year. I mean, it's always been important. And of course, we celebrate the contributions of Black Americans all year long, but it definitely hits a little different this year. So now I'd like to officially introduce our moderator for this evening. Toyo Aboderin is a second-generation Nigerian South Jersey native. She received her bachelor's degree in communications with a minor in Africana Studies from Stockton University. After deciding to pursue her graduate career in Africana Studies, she received her master's degree from the Department of Africology and African American Studies at Temple University. Now, Ms. Aboderin continues her education in Temple University's doctoral program for Africology and has returned to Stockton University to teach African Americans on television as an adjunct professor. She is a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and diligently continues her research in hopes of creating a safer, more society. So thank you once again, Toya, for joining us. We're looking forward to this panel discussion. But before we jump into that, I'd like you to offer a few reflections, tell us your connection to the AC community, a little bit about your personal journey and what resistance is to you.
Ooh, I'm excited for today's discussion. Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you all, the little squares. I love it. And thank you so much, Christina, for introducing me. But I really wanted to take a moment to really thank the Stories of Atlantic City for just creating this space for us to be able to have essential conversations like this. It's very rare, and I'm glad that you guys are doing this. It's truly such an honor to be able to moderate today's conversation. So as you've said, I've been studying Africana history for a little over 5 years now. So when you ask me to discuss resistance, my mind can't help but race with the vast history of resistance that Black people have shown as a collective. So when I think of resistance, I think about the Mino, also referred to as the Dahomey Amazons by Western historians, who were a militant army comprised of only African women and the strength and strategy they used to drive out the French from their land. When I think of resistance, I think about the countless African souls who jumped ship during the Middle Passage because they would rather die than be enslaved on foreign land. I think about the countless insurrections and rebellions from Black and Indigenous people on the plantations all over the Americas and in the Caribbean. I think about the Haitian Revolution and their ability to not only drive out French colonizers from their land, but also the influence their victory had on other African and Caribbean countries who would later fight for their own independence. I think about the Harlem Renaissance in the 20s and the 30s, and then the Black arts movements in the 60s and the 70s, and the intentional ways these artists intertwine their arts and their political activism together. I think about the efforts of Black scholars like Molefi Kete Asante, Ama Mazama, and Malana Karenga, who fought for a space where African history could be taught authentically without the imposition of Eurocentric thought. I think about efforts made during the Civil Rights Movement, Black Power movement, and Black Lives Matter movement today. But in the very same breath, when I think about resistance, I think about events like this. I think about the work each of these panelists have done thus far. I think about the community building that is being done in Atlantic City, Camden, Newark, and all over New Jersey. And I also think about the deliberate decision each of you made to be here today, either as a panelist, organizer, or audience member. So as you can see, resistance takes many different shapes and forms. And today we get to celebrate the forms of resistance that are often overlooked and unheard. I'm excited to watch these films and hear these stories of the trailblazers that are on today's panel. Christina, I'm gonna pass it back to you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Toyo. So much information that you gave us. Quick little history moment, right? And once again, like I said, we're just so happy to have you here, and I cannot wait till our discussion. So before we go to our discussion, I want to talk a little bit about the why from Stories of AC side. Why did we decide to have this resistance roundtable? So as I mentioned earlier, our main objective at Stories of AC is to highlight stories of resilience throughout the AC community. So this tees us up perfectly to talk a little bit about the Resistance Roundtable and how it came to be. So back in summer 2020, we were at what felt like a boiling point in our country. Not only were we dealing with a global pandemic that was ravaging communities, especially communities of color, but we were also being faced with the social injustices, unrest, and uprisings due to the senseless and brutal killings at the hands of police taking place on Black and brown bodies. Many of us have been experiencing anger, grief, and anxiety. I know I personally felt a sense of burnout that was really hard to shake. I refused to even look at a newspaper or turn on the news for an extended period of time because I just couldn't fathom hearing any more disheartening news. So this is when Stories of AC decided to use our platform to counter the negativity going on. And not as a means, to sugarcoat or glaze over the facts, but to give people hope and relief, even if it was only for a few moments. So we decided to collaborate with a community content producer for a project called UPrisings. And the emphasis is on the word up. We really wanted to uplift the community and share these stories of resilience, share these stories of people that are doing the work in the community and creating change for the better. So we decided to produce 2 profile videos on AC community members, which would highlight their life's work and spotlight their contributions to the community over time. We wanted to focus on the themes of upliftment and social action and activism, but even having a few conversations about that, we realized that activism looks different for different people. You may not be the person on the street protesting, but you may be doing something within your home with your children that still is an act of activism. So we ended up coming up with our Uprisings project, and I have on the call with us 2 of our videographers that we worked with, Christian Correa and Jonathan Gonzalez, who were such a pleasure to work with and really brought the vision that we had to life. So I'm going to show you their videos, but before I do, I would just like to introduce you to them. Christian Correa is a content creator, born and raised in the Atlantic City area. His work focuses on creating a culture and connection for wellness for both individuals and a society as a whole. And Jonathan Gonzalez is the Director of Youth and Facilities at the Ocean City Tabernacle. He has been serving our youth culture for 10 years locally and abroad. Jonathan was honored for his work in the community with the Ambassador of Peace Youth Leadership Services Award by the Atlantic County Executive Committee. His passion for storytelling has been birthed from his own story of tragedy as he bled to death in the back of a seat of a car at the age of 17 due to massive trauma to his leg, internal bleeding, and over 10 bones broken in his face. Jonathan has shared his story and continues to do so this day and is now inspired to help tell the people's story through power content creating. So such dynamic individuals with such stories of their own that seems like we're going to have to share one day on our platform. So now that you know a little bit about them, and once again, you'll hear from them later as well, I'd like to show you the videos that they created. So give me one more moment to pull up my screen. We're going to sit back and just enjoy the content that they created.
I'm guided by the principle that everyone is human, has dignity and worth, and they must be treated as such. My name is Kaleem Shabazz. I am the 3rd Ward council person in Atlantic City and also president of the Atlantic City branch of the NAACP. Born in Atlantic City, July 17th, 1947. I think Atlantic City was a typical small town. You had neighborhood pride, close-knit families, people who were striving to get from working class to middle class and above. Education was always stressed in my house. You had to get good grades. You had to be a good student, be involved in civic activities. So I became a member of the NAACP Youth Council when I was, I think, a freshman in high school, or maybe 8th grade. At that time, we had a very large and active youth council. We had 300 or 400 youngsters involved, and we were determined to make change. We felt like young people feel today. That's why I have a strong empathy for the Black Lives Matter movement, because these young people see injustice and they want to change it, and they are dissatisfied with the pace of change. Can you support Black Lives Matter and support the police at the same time? Absolutely. The police do a very important and necessary job in our community. But unfortunately, we have crime, and that's real. By the same token, the police have to be just, and they have to be fair, and they have to be impartial in the way that they administer the law. We have systemic racism in our society. There is a history of that. There is a reason that people have this visceral feeling against the police. We're trying to break that cycle. It's a moral imperative. It's a faith-driven imperative. But it's an economic and practical imperative. We need to look at reimagining how police function. I respect the police, and I respect humanity, and I know that we can have a balance where we can get the same kind of treatment for everyone in this country and every community. That's a goal. I think we can reach it. Bridge of Faith is an organization of Muslims, Christians, and Jews, people of faith who can agree on common issues that we can come together and work on. Rabbi Krause had a synagogue, and they were having trouble with people vandalizing, taking their pocketbooks and things like that. So I reached out to Rabbi Krause and I said, maybe some of our men in the Muslim community could work as guides or advocates. And he said, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. So we did it. When you see injustice and wrong, you can connect with any other person of faith or person of good thought to work to overcome that. Your faith should guide how you live, but also be broad enough to encompass people who are not in your particular faith expression. I'm a Muslim, but most of my constituents are not Muslims. So I have to serve them regardless of their faith belief, or if they don't have any faith belief. I think the biggest thing is that we talk. It's like a bridge. The bridge takes from one place to another. Knock down stereotypes, empathy, putting yourself in the shoes and the life of others. We can't solve all the problems of the world, but we can talk and dialogue, and we have to get an understanding of how we move forward in a realistic, rational way. We need everyone to participate and contribute to the success of the United States.
So that was the work of Christian and Jonathan. I believe they collaborated on those videos. We have one more to share with you. As you can see, so much rich content, and I really can't wait to talk to Councilman Kaleem Shabazz, because this man has years of experience and activism and being a pillar in his community. So you'll hear more from him later. But before then, I'm going to pull up our final video. Give me one moment. And then we're going to chat a little bit about it. All right.
My name is Jamelia Lawrence, and I'm a cosmetological engineer. I do locks. I do natural hair. I come to this field mainly, I would say, because of the women in my family. I remember growing up and they would always be like, oh, you know, your hair is your crown, it's your beauty. But all the things we did to it didn't always make it seem to be that. I wanted to have a simpler way and a more natural way of us to care for. We're going to see this mural on the legendary Sarah Spencer Washington. She started out as a cosmetologist. She went to school for chemistry, and she started her own brand of products. I mean, this is honestly the direction that I want to go in. She's a legacy. I opened my first shop back in, I believe it was 2007. Oh my goodness, that was a fiasco. I got the business loan, thought I had the property secured. I had blueprints and everything, you know, drawn out for the floor plan and all that. And what was it, 2008, the big crash hit. And so like, I'm like, hey, I'm just getting started. They're like, we don't care, you're little. And probably about $20,000 or so just wasted. We're like, it's so hard right now, it's not even. Imagine what she had to go through. She took some hair cream and fulfilled her dream. So, you know, I kind of built a shop in my garage, pursued it, and again, it fell. And still I want to do the shop thing. I start again, and finally I end up here at 400 North Pennsylvania Avenue. Well, look, I'm 50 years old, right? So there was a time when they was always like, for a girl, you can't do that. That's where I find resilience. Anybody tell me that I can't do something, there's no way that I can't do it. She was limitless. She had no boundaries. She lived the life that she wanted to live. Right here, as a matter of fact. And this place is so rich in history and we don't even know it. Like every block of this place, man. And we overlook it. Mr. Sonny Lee was another big influence for me. Actually, he just passed not too long ago. He was a barber in Atlantic City. He was one of the, you know, African Americans I saw in the area who actually had a business, a thriving business, and he kept it, you know, kept it going. Smart man, you know, it kind of taught me a lot about life, and I appreciated that. It was nice to have, you know, a male who took honest interest and, you know, was kind and a good person. Don't leave here with your dream in you. Don't leave here with your dream in you. If there is something that you're interested in, that you start to take a liking on, and even if you have a natural talent for it, work on it. Work on your dream. The only thing that ever scared me was thinking about a dream unfulfilled. I love what I do, and I'm happy to be following in the footsteps of women like this. This place is so rich in history, and we don't even know it. Like, every block of this place, man, and we overlook it.
So can we just take a moment and give them a round of applause, because these videos were so excellently executed and they came together phenomenally. So thank you again, videographers, for that wonderful content, and for the participants who were so willing to have them follow them around and to share their story. We really captured two beautiful souls, two you know, people who are pillars in their community, and in very different ways, right? So with that being said, I want to toss this over to Christian and Jonathan, our videographers. And I want to invite them to share the importance of sharing stories like this, and maybe take us through a little bit of your process and how sharing this story impacted you.
Sure, Christina, thank you first of all for having us. It was great. You know, I came on board last year with Stories of AC, and it was actually really cool to watch you come on this year and take the reins and really smash it. Like every time I looked on the computer, there was a new event. I was like, yo, does this girl sleep? Oh, so great job with that. But yeah, it's great to be able to continue that thing. You know, to be able to create content and tell stories is kind of part of why I moved back here to the area from California about 3-4 years ago. And I interviewed Jamelia, I think like in 2017. I was like, I'm gonna make a series, we're gonna tell stories of people. And I'm so glad we didn't finish it, because this was so much better. This was with Johnny coming in, and just all the time that's passed, and having nice equipment and having just a better overall look at things. So sometimes when things don't work out, it's a blessing. But yeah, it's been really great to be able to share stories. We're going to talk a little bit later about resistance and resilience and whatnot, I'm sure, but just this idea of restorative narrative, the whole point of Stories of Atlantic City when it kicked off, and this idea of, when I was living in California, the only stories coming out of Atlantic City that you saw were terrible. It was casinos closing, it was bums getting punched in the park. There was no access to the people that are doing great work, the doctors, the musicians, the entrepreneurs. So to be able to come back and even be a tiny part of that is really great. So thank you for having us, and we hope to continue to do more of it.
Thank you so much for sharing, and thank you for the kind words.
Yeah.
No, I do not sleep, actually. Working on that, but thanks again. I'm going to go ahead and toss it right to Jonathan.
Wow, what an honor it is to be here with all of you. My heart is racing. It was such a blessing to be a part of this project. I want to say this: the why is because I want to leave my fingerprint behind. Right. I want to make sure that as long as I'm still here, that I'm doing everything that I can to impact the world, to inspire, to show people and young people that, hey, listen, there are amazing things going on in your community. Watch, let me show you. Follow me as I'm looking for these beautiful stories. And so that's what fuels me, is to find the beauty in the midst of all the darkness that we are surrounded. Obviously, we know how social media works and how the media works, and we can be honest with each other. The media has really affected not only all of us, but our young people. I work with a lot of young people almost every day, and they've been affected by it heavily. And so if I can leave my fingerprint behind as long as I'm breathing through the art of storytelling and video creating, then I'm all in, right? The process was beautiful. It was, what a blessing it was to connect with Jamelia at a different level, and go into her world, right, and follow her, and just be very silent and watch how beautiful her life has been, of resilience and of not giving up. And it so sparked something in me. So I connected really well, and what a blessing it was to connect with Mr. Kaleem and the work that he does, right? The commitment of years and years to the work that he has said yes to do, right? So it's been a blessing. It's been an awesome, and I can't wait for more. So thank you.
And Christina, can I add one quick thing to that? You made me think of something. So Kaleem, like, I've known Kaleem for years, just like around town. And Kaleem was one of those people that I see everywhere, but I'm like, I don't know what Kaleem's like life is like. And it was really, really cool to be like, oh my God, this guy's done so much over the years, right? And there's this, Brene Brown has this phrase where it's like, people are hard to hate up close, move in. And these stories allow us to like take whatever surface knowledge we have of people and actually move in and get to know them better. And when you move in, you get to really see really rich stories, and also real similarities to your own life, and real similar struggles, similar triumphs. So like, thank you for that opportunity to be like, oh man, now when I see Kaleem, I'm like, yo, this guy's got a life. He's got some stories.
This guy is the man, right?
Yeah. And Jamelia too, man. I love it. I love every time she says 50 years old, I just watch people's faces explode when she says I'm 50.
Right,
like,
right. Because I had no idea.
Yeah.
But thank you for sharing that. I think that's a great point that you made, Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Like the importance of sharing stories. Once you really start to share your stories and get to understand people, then you'll foster that feeling of understanding. You really get to see them on an eye-to-eye level. And the empathy grows for people as well. Once you know their backstory and why they are the way they are, or why they do the things they do, then you really understand. And that's the power of storytelling. So thank you for that. So I'm going to go ahead and formally introduce our panelists, and then I'm going to toss it over to Toyo, and we're going to jump right into this discussion. So first we have Mr. Tyrell Lewis. Tyrell is a good friend of mine. I've known him for some years. We've worked on some things. I'm an artist as well. So we've worked on plenty of productions together. So now I get to introduce my friend. Ty Lewis is a multifaceted professional artist. He's an accomplished actor, poet, playwright, and published author. He is the owner of Art by Ty Lewis, where his goal is to reflect the stories of the unsung heroes in his community through multiple creative mediums. He is currently a service manager of case management with the Covenant House of Atlantic City, where he advocates and provides free resources for homeless youth between the ages of 18 and 21. Next, we have Councilman Kaleem Shabazz, who you just saw a video on. You already know, for the most part, what he does, but once again, I'll formally introduce him. Councilman Kaleem Shabazz is an Atlantic City native and the president of the Atlantic City NAACP. He's also the 3rd Ward council person for Atlantic City and an adjunct faculty member of Stockton University. Next, we have Paige Vaccaro. Paige Vaccaro brings passion, tenacity, and creativity to all that she does. The mother of 4 young children, is a former public school teacher, poet, community organizer, and the founder of the local nonprofit communities, Revolutionizing Open Public Spaces. She co-admins the Black Lives Matter South Jersey Facebook group. She's a host of monthly Black Poetry Matters virtual events and started in a short film called The United We Heal, scheduled for release this year. Keep growing. So looking forward to that content. And lastly, we have Jamelia. So the video covered a little bit of what Jamelia does. However, she is like the most interesting person in the world. So where do we begin? Jamelia Lawrence is an Atlantic City native and Black entrepreneur. She's a 25-year licensed cosmetologist and educator and the owner of Violet Maze Salon. And she specializes in natural hair care. Jamelia is also AC's first professional female pugilist or boxer, and the first Black woman boxer as well, literally punching through 2 glass ceilings at once. She was a Pennsylvania Golden Glove winner in '98. She describes herself as free-spirited and an adventurer who was here to offer and receive knowledge to better the world we live in. Also, did I mention that she is a certified yoga teacher? She does it all, literally. So we are so happy to have you all here once again. As you can see, we chose these people for a reason. They all have different paths in life, but their goal is the same, right? To better their community, better the lives of those around them. So once again, we welcome you, and let's jump right into this conversation. So I'm going to toss it over to Toyo.
All right. I just want to take a quick moment again to commend Christian and Jonathan on your incredible work with these Uprising videos. Truly well done. I also want to thank Councilman Shabazz and Jamelia Lawrence for not only the work you do in the community, but also for sharing your stories at all. Coretta Scott King said, "The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members." And the compassion both of you have for the community is more than evident in these films. So truly, thank you again. All right, so before we get started, I wanted to explain how this will work. I have questions for the panel and some for specific individuals. Panelists, even if the question is not directed to you specifically, please feel free to chime in and jump in after they have done speaking. So let's get started. All right. One of my favorite professors, Dr. Kamani Nahusi, once said, "A people who know who they are is the optimum form of resistance." So I would love for you all to take a moment to speak on the importance of knowing who you are and share a little more detail with us about the journey that brought you to the work that you are doing today. So I'll have Paige go first, then Jamelia, then Councilman Shabazz, and then Tyrell.
I don't know. I had a feeling it was coming to me first. I just knew it. Maybe it was the 12 years as a school teacher. You know, I looked away and I was like, a death sentence. No, it's actually a really, really great question, specifically for my background, because, you know, I know it's difficult for people, like, especially in South Jersey, it's a very tight-knit, small community. And you know, I'm not from here. And, you know, it can be very easy for me to walk around and like hang my head and be like, I'm not really from AC, but it doesn't actually matter to me because I have worked in Baltimore City, I worked in Brooklyn, Newark, Monmouth County, wherever I go, my work travels with me because I care about people. And I also feel that like, because I'm an outsider, it gives me an opportunity to listen, to learn, and also to bring something new and some fresh perspectives to the table. So I think it's that combination that makes me successful. I'm also, I feel the question in the beginning where you were asking about, does Black History Month feel different this year? For me, it does, because I'm of mixed background. My mom is Jewish and my dad is Black. Well, he was Black. He passed away 9 years ago. And I really feel that this year I came into my own, and I feel like I'm not half anything anymore. I'm a full Black woman, and I'm also a fully mixed woman and fully a Jewish woman as well. And I'm able to bring all of those pieces to the table and advocate. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Paige. Jamelia, we'll go to you.
Hi, everybody. I had something written here that I wanted to share. It's probably the hardest thing in the world for me to talk about me. So please give me one moment. I had it right here in my notes, and then it's like it disappeared, of course. Something I really wanted to say about, gosh, where is it at? Resistance.
What we can do is, while you look for it, Jamelia, if you would like
Thank
us to come
you.
back to you. Okay, great. So let's toss it to Councilman Shabazz.
First of all, let me say good evening and thank you, Christina, for your leadership and your tireless, effective energy. I think everyone can come to the consensus that the hardest working person they know is Christina Noble.
Yes.
I don't think that there's any controversy about that. And then let me say very quickly that Kristen and Jonathan are fabulous. I was looking at that guy they were talking to, it looked like me. I said, they really made me look good and sound good. I appreciate their craftsmanship, their professionalism. And I remember that day. I wish it was as warm that day, that first day, as it is. We need that heat today. But let me get to the question. I think that being the oldest of 4 children sort of prepares you for leadership, because I don't know about most families, but my mother and father, when we went out, they said that you are in charge. You go out together, you come back together, you have to look out for your brothers and sisters. That was the mantra in my house. Another mantra was education was important. Even though my parents were from North Carolina, they were really from the same town. They came to Atlantic City together. They were not highly educated, but they told us that education was the key to advancement and that we had to get a good education. I spoke to a class today virtually in Egg Harbor City on Black History, and I said that in my house, we couldn't even watch television till the weekend because we had to do our homework, and our parents were insisting on us doing our homework. And because one of the questions was, what did you look forward to when you were young? I said, I look forward to the weekends because we watch television a little bit. So I think that I'm like Paige. This year, the Black History Month is different than any other observance in my mind, and I would respectfully submit, because this year is different. The fact that we have a pandemic virus, the fact that we have an economic crisis, and the fact that we are at a juncture in our country of social justice and civil rights that we have to work through. We don't have any choice. We can never go back to where we were at before. We can never go back to a society that allowed the disparities that we see highlighted by the pandemic before. And it's not just a Black problem, it is a problem for the society that we all have to address. Without being too dramatic, I would say that this is a critical juncture in our history, and we have to rise up and meet it or really fail as a nation. And in closing, not only fail as a nation, despite what some people say, the United States is still the leader in the world as far as intellectual accomplishment, despite all the gaps we have in personal freedom, the ability to do whatever you want to do. Jamila is a prime example of someone who goes through adversity, and there's thousands of Jamilas across this country. And I know that this is a crucial time for us as a people, and we have to rise up. That's a long answer, but once you get an elected official, a platform, Kristen and Jonathan can tell you, I can talk all day because I'm just excited about this work. And let me just say, this is an important kind of activity. We need to continue to do this. Communication is important and it's critical.
Thank you so much, Councilman. Thank you, thank you. Jamelia, we'll come back to you.
Okay. Well, what I want to say is being able to be raised in a city that allows you to be yourself helps you to, like break through these ceilings that, people mention. To me, it was just very normal. So I really didn't look at it like it was anything. But if I was to look at anything and to say, what really helped me get through like this time and how this year was really different to me, it was my spirituality. So, really digging deep into, using the tools that I have and different things that have been brought to me, like through the Youth Leadership Studio and, practicing yoga and knowing how to become mindful. I really wouldn't know how to deal if I didn't, tap into those things. But what I had written had something to do with resistance. And this is the way I look at it. I look at it according to the teachings of my elders, by the way of my ancestors. Every time you have a desire for anything, source immediately creates it for you in what we call this vortex. In order to manifest it, the physical world around you, you have to align to the energy of the desire. The best way to do this is to flow with the path of least resistance. And that's basically what I do. For me, is following that path of least resistance simply means that I prioritize my feelings good over anything else. And I train my logical mind and stop thinking about the potential problems and the obstacles, because I could do that all day. I sit in it where I'm positioned. It's like I go to this every day. And if I did that constantly, I would just be losing. So when I focus on beauty and joy, it just raises my vibration. And I try to enter into my receiving mode. I like to thank you guys for this, for featuring me. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, John. Thank you, Christina, and Stories of Atlantic City. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
And I gotta slow down. I noticed I gotta slow down.
You're doing great. No, you're doing great.
Seemed like I was much faster. I was much faster than the film. I was in that vortex again.
No, thank you so much. Tyrell, we're gonna head over to you.
Awesome. Hopefully you all can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Great. First of all, thanks so much for having me. Like, I'm so excited to be a part of this. This has been amazing thus far. There's some amazing, powerful people a part of this evening, this event. Christina, you rock. So yes, answering the question now. I did not know who I was. Growing up, I was a budding artist, and it was surrounded the community with little resources. I grew up in Pleasantville, New Jersey, and like little resources for artists. A lot of sports, but not much for artists. So it wasn't until I was probably about 18 that I decided to jump into my community as a volunteer at the recreation center. And it was really people who came into my life at that point who opened up opportunities and gave me a platform to showcase my talent. So people were able to validate me. My first person that I'll mention is Deborah Washington at the Recreation Center. She really poured into me and allowed me to work with her youth in the summer camp program where I was a performing arts director. And so that showed me that, okay, one, my community supported who I was as an artist. And then just diving into who I was as a director for the youth, I saw that I had a leadership ability that had I never been given this platform, I would have never known that I had the ability to lead and have influence within my community. So then an opportunity, Police Athletic League with Michael A. Bailey, with the performing arts classes there. And then I was able to volunteer as well. And again, just build as an artist and be validated by my heroes and by my mentors who say, you are somebody, your art can help us, you can lead the youth here and give this demographic another outlet other than sports. And so it was between those people validating me and then me learning my leadership ability that has brought me into the work that I'm doing now at the Covenant House, where I am working in both of my passions, which is as an advocate for youth, through learning my leadership ability, and then also being an artist and being able to pour their stories into my art. So they kind of went hand in hand. And because of my community and validating who I was, I learned my identity and where I fit. So that just goes to show that we have to really put ourselves out there and be willing to, one, be teachable to those who have the ability to open doors for you. You know what I mean? You have to be able to say, I'm teachable, I'm willing to learn, I'm willing to volunteer and just see where I fit. And in that validation, in that came my security and knowing who I was as a leader. And in that, I'm able to help others right now in my community.
Thank you. I'm going to jump in here really fast. Ty, you seem to be having some type of connection issues. I'm not sure if you need to change locations, but yeah, we had a little bit of trouble hearing you. So just wanted to give you that heads up. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Toyo.
No, thank you so much. I hope you all were still able to hear him. I did hear a lot of what you were saying, Tyrell. So thank you so much for your response. And thank you, all of you. So now we're going to talk. I know a couple of you briefly hinted towards the fact that things are different this year. Things were different last year as well. And we want to hear a little bit about how you've been able to manage and adjust with the physical restrictions due to COVID. What have you done even mentally for yourself to make sure that you're able to really maneuver and still be working and giving back in your communities? So we'll go in the same order. So I'll have Paige start first again, and don't worry, I'll switch it up a little bit later.
No, it's okay. I was like chomping at the bit at this one because I have a really good story for this. So we, CROPS, my nonprofit organization that I founded, I don't like to call it mine. I founded it, but it's not mine at all. It's for the community. But we had just planted our first garden at Sister Jean's Kitchen on Pennsylvania Avenue. And it has 14 beds. Now it's up to 16 beds and growing. But so we had a fabulous fall season. And then we were planning for the spring, and that was right when COVID hit. And I will literally, it sounds melodramatic, but I promise you, I went to the garden. I was watching all these news about, they were talking about checking people's IDs when they went places, and I don't live in Atlantic City. I'm like, how am I going to get to my garden? Like, what am I going to do? So I went there and I stood there and I sat on the edge of one of the beds and I cried my eyes out. And I was like, I don't know. I can't just give up. Like, people are going to need food. People are going to need this healing space. They're going to need to be outside. But I didn't want to, be responsible for anybody, contracting COVID. So talk about being in a horrible space. So as I'm sitting there crying, I had this idea and I was like, you know what I'm going to do? Before they close down, because I really envisioned the end of days, like they were going to close all the highways and everything. I'm a little dramatic. I'm a creative person. So I come up with these ideas. So I hurried up and went on Facebook that day with this idea that we'll do container gardens. So like, if you can't come together to grow, I'm going to put out as many containers as possible. And it was wild. Like, we got soil donations. Like, people were calling into Lang's Garden Center, like giving us $100 credit, $200 credit to go and buy soil. Soil was the most expensive part. I messaged everybody and was like, drop your pots off on my front porch. Like, when you take the cheap plastic ones, when you take your plants out and plant it somewhere, I collected, my porch was overflowing with them. And I collected seeds. And the next thing I know, we gave out 100 container gardens in the city. And just as that was going on, then we started, they released the list of essential businesses, and community gardens and farmers markets were #1 in the same category as grocery stores. I knew our work was important, but I had no idea the rest of the world would ever recognize it. I was like, what? We're essential employees? So the next thing you know, we were planting not just what we planted, but extra gardens. Like we were planting more, we were giving away more seeds to people. We were expanding our farmers markets. We went from 2 locations to 4. You know, where some people were, their businesses were closing down, we felt the call to action. There was actually one of the gardens in Atlantic City that was managed by a woman. She passed away from COVID early in the pandemic. So we took over that garden. It was like an additional like 30 garden beds that I was traveling back and forth trying to keep alive. So there was a lot for our organization. It was like a catch-22 because it was so sad thinking about people not having access, but then we were, our work has been elevated. I just spoke on a statewide conference. You know, Cory Booker is coming to check out our gardens in the next couple of months. Like, there's really exciting things going on. I can't even keep up with the number of Zoom meetings. So there is a positive side of it. And it's like crazy that day one, I was sitting there crying. And we even reinvented our farmers market so that the very first market opened up in April, in the first before any of the summer ones, because we have a spring market. And we did a drive-through, order online only, 0 contact farmers market. So we're really proud of like our ability to shift. And then later we were able to do community days with masks and social distancing. So yeah, it's been great for our organization, but kind of exhausting because we don't really have the infrastructure for all the excitement right now, but we're just riding along and doing what we can. So thank you.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you so much, Paige. Jamila, go to you.
I'm sorry.
Oh, so the question, we're just talking about how you have adjusted with things being different this year and a lot of physical restrictions due to COVID, how you've adjusted and what you've done mentally to prepare.
Well, mainly, like I was saying before, just pretty much getting into my mindful work, you know, dealing with myself. There's, I deal with, well, position where I am in Atlantic City, I happen to deal with death quite a bit. So, you know, there are young men who sit in my chair and I don't know if I'm going to see them again or not. So just what I practice all the time is just being, you know, as loving as I can to my guests and, you know, just available to talk. And I get well, things kind of really changed afterwards because, you know, the way I have to have my waiting room and different things, you know, it's not as, almost not as warm as it used to be with people coming in and maybe, you know, just wanting to talk. I can't facilitate that now because things have really changed. So for the most part, I just try to be as, you know, that community person, you know, where the best way I can. And even now I have to find ways to do that. So I'm open to being, you know, more available this year to, you know, helping.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you so much. Councilman Shabazz, did you have anything you wanted to add?
I think that the virus is, after we look back on this, because we will get through it, I think that this will let everyone be more sensitive to family, to interactions and interconnections, to the need to have a positive social relationship with people. I think the virus is going to show us all this. Me personally, I really have changed my whole schedule and day up. Normally, I would go to City Hall fairly regularly to do constituent work, to do the work of city government. Because of the virus, we are doing everything virtually. All our meetings are virtual, all our committee meetings, all our council meetings. The interactions that I had with community groups in my district are all virtual. No one is having in-person community meetings. Even the houses of faith in my district that I normally visit because of the virus. No, I don't do that. I was teaching my class in person in Stockton. We're doing that virtually. Just about everything has changed. And I think it is disastrous. Several several of my constituents have passed away due to COVID. And because of the conditions, a lot of us could not even go to their service. We sent letters of condolences, but normally I would attend their services. So it's been a drastic change. And I'm coping by having a schedule. Even though my classes are virtual, I could get dressed casually as some of my friends do, but I don't do that. I still get dressed as if I was going to a in-person class, because I believe it's important to have a discipline and have a schedule and have a structure to help you deal with the tremendous trauma that we're all going through. In addition to the virus, all of the racial and social concerns is really traumatic, and we need to be very solicitous of our mental health and our emotional health, and not push that to the side and not deal with it. Especially in the African-American community, there is a lot of barriers when people say that they have emotional concerns or mental health concerns, but it's real. And not just in the African-American community. The rate of suicide is up, the rate of depression is up, the rate of abuse is up, the rate of people who are using alcohol and other stimulants to dull their feelings is up. So I think this is a real reckoning for us as a people and as a country and as a world. And I think we have to be attuned to all that. And we have to, whatever our religious faith is, I think that we have to use that as a way, not use that, participate in that as a way to help ground us. So I don't think that any of us should ever be the same after we come through this experience, because it's so, and it's not over. We have a long way to go. I wish that we could report that the pandemic is over because we have vaccinations, but we all know the reality that it's not. And none of us know when it's going to be over if we are truthful. So yes, everything has changed. And I look at things differently, and I would hope that other people do too, and in a good way, that we look for the good in people and we try to manifest the good and magnify the good and see if we can't work on the things that are not so good.
Thank you, Councilman. Tyrell, did you want to add anything?
Sure, if I'm good with the sound.
Yes, much better.
Okay, great. Yes, for me, with my work at the Covenant House, there has been really difficult. It's been difficult to team up with our outside resources that we would normally have around the table with us. We aren't able to bring in our clients, the rest of their team. Like we normally can bring in DCP&P, we can bring in CMO workers, we can bring in behavioral health specialists and sit around the table and build a plan for this successful transition out of homelessness. So it's been really difficult to still have that direct connection, virtually. But we've been making it work. And then also we're just not able to rely on those outside sources for our quote unquote tap out and be able to pass the baton, if you will. So what I'm going to combat that is self-care. Self-care has been a major thing for myself, to make sure that I am one with myself, that I'm at 100% and with whichever way necessary, whether that's, meditation, therapy, breathing exercises, because you cannot give of yourself if you're not 100%. Maybe you have nothing to give. Making sure that my self-care is intact has been number one priority, so that when I am in front of my clients and the youth that I serve, that I'm in a good mental space to be able to handle the extra load that has been put on me due to coronavirus.
Thank you so much. Your audio is still a little fuzzy, just a little bit, but it is much better.
Yeah, sometimes going off screen will help.
Got it.
Okay.
Yes, Paige, I see that you have a question.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to chime in because our organization has been working with the Covenant House for about 3 years. And one of the sad things about that was that we had a garden program where we would garden every week with the youth, and then we would cook the food that we grew in the kitchen. So we had to shut down the kitchen part of that program. But, one of the questions in the chat was saying, like, how do you keep going? My motivation, it's like sometimes you're like, man, like I'm tired. I have 4 kids. It's rough, in my house sometimes, like trying to virtual school and run an organization that all of a sudden has all this pressure on it. But, when I thought about the youth, like we couldn't do the sleep out this year, but I made sure that we still planted a garden. We still had a paid internship program. And those garden spaces are so important. So I feel like, that's my healing because it gets me out of the house. And I had to get over the fear of like catching COVID. Like, who's going to take care of my kids? My husband's a physician and he's working in the hospital. Like we have a lot of extra pressure on us. But it doesn't stop me from realizing that when I reach out, I feel better. So that's one message to people out there and everyone struggling with these Zoom boxes like all day long. Like there are safe ways to be outside. I was at farmers markets nonstop all summer and people are doing a really good job staying distance, following the rules now. In the beginning, it was a little different. But certain opportunities like that are so important. So we're still working with our organization and our insurance and safety protocols to keep those community garden events going. Not even an event, but just sign up 2 people at a time. We can work far apart and get outside and enjoy the sun. So.
Thank you, Paige. That actually is a great segue to my next question. So Jamelia, you said something in your video that really stuck with me. You said, don't leave here with your dream in you. And so many of us have so many different dreams, right? Starting businesses, nonprofit organizations, finishing school. But let's be honest, it's not that easy to get started, let alone stay committed to your passion, especially when times get tough. So Jamelia, I'm going to ask you if you could speak a little bit more about the struggles that you had to endure while making these dreams happen and really share advice on how you remained resilient despite it all.
Well, it's too many struggles to even talk about. The struggles, let's just start with mentor. Is the mentor thing still like a thing? Because mentors are really, really important. But it seems like there's such a disconnect with the younger people and, who they would look at as being a mentor. I can have someone sit in my chair, 20 something or whatever. And I ask them like, what do you think about mentors? Or do you have a mentor? And they're like, no. It's an immediate, like right away. It's almost to the point where it feels like, I don't know if it's trust or, or I'm not sure really what to put my finger on, but for me, that was a big deal, having a mentor and building relationships with people who do what I wanted to do. So, like Sonny Lee, I stuck to him like glue, wanted to know about the business, not just about cutting hair, just about how to make this thing work, and, again, getting it's the self-care for me, how they say it's the self-care for me.
Definitely is.
It's the self-care for me. I've been preaching meditate as long as I can remember. I hear it's a thing now. So just jump, we have to get people more interested into, becoming mindful and being all right with themselves and wanting to be a better person every day. That's just it.
Definitely is. Thank you. Thank you so much. For sake of time, I'm going to move on to the next question, but I'm sure we'll have some other questions that are similar to some of the questions I have here when we get to Q&A. But Councilman Shabazz, what really stood out to me in your video was the importance of unity. So I can go on and on about the value each of you as panelists bring individually, but I believe that it would be remiss if you didn't all have an opportunity to really speak about the impact the community contributed. So Councilman Shabazz, I would like you to start and elaborate more on the significance of working together and collectively as a community and the power that unleashes.
Thank you. That's an excellent question. I think at this point in our history, our collective history, I don't think we have too many choices about working together. Again, I think that's a lesson from the pandemic. The pandemic has shown us that despite our cultural differences, our political differences, our economic differences, our geographical differences, that this pandemic strikes everyone. I mean, the president of the United States, whatever we thought about President Trump, he got the virus. The most powerful man in the world, in the most powerful country in the world, with the greatest healthcare in the country, in his house that he lived in, he got the virus. And from President Trump all across the spectrum, disproportionately, unfortunately, in Black and brown communities, but this virus is a leveler, and it shows us that there's only one humanity, there's only one people. Obviously, we have different experiences, different cultures, different religions, different beliefs, but the unity of our human concerns outweigh all of that. And I think that's what I'm impressed about. This, again, I go back to the virus. I think this is going to be a turning point. I think historians and social analysts are going to be writing about this for the next 50, 100 years, about how this virus absolutely turned the whole world around. I was talking to some of my colleagues who were talking about the pilgrimage to Mecca, which is something that Muslims do every year. And normally it's over 1 million people that go to Mecca to make Hajj. Last year, because of the virus, it was only 1,000 people. A absolute pillar of Islam affected by the virus, and many other people have things like this. So I think the quest of unity is critical. It's not just a philosophical or theological urging we should be united. It's something I think that's a necessity, and I think we are, every day that goes past, if we are observant, if we are present, we see the need for it.
Thank you so much, Councilman, for that answer. Thank you. And thank you all for your answers. We are going to jump into Q&A right now because I see there are a few questions in the chat and I want to make sure they all get answered. So the first one I see, and I'll have Christina help me too so I don't miss it.
Yeah, we already have them in the document. So
Oh,
first question is from Yvette. And she asked, is there a point where you all felt like giving up, didn't think you were the right person to make the difference, or that you were hoping to make what was the turnaround point in that moment? Because I truly believe that could also indicate resilience. So
Who's that for?
This for anyone on the panel.
Let me say, I'm from the civil rights generation. We never thought to give up. We had, and I'm reading a book now that I would recommend to everybody. It's called The Sword and the Shield, The Revolutionary Lives of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. The Sword and the Shield, The Revolutionary Lives of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. by a gentleman named Pernell Joseph, a very astute historian. We never had the prospect of giving up. In the civil rights generation, our thought was that we were going towards freedom. We were going to change America. We were going to smash segregation, discrimination, racism, gender bias. And that was our thought. And that was our outlook on life. And I think I thank God I still have that spirit and feeling. So I never was discouraged, even in the darkest days, even when George Floyd was murdered, and I saw that and I had to stop looking at it because it was too emotional for me. I am still not discouraged that we can't make progress and we can't do better. So I never, ever have the feeling of turning back or giving up or dropping out and tuning out. I never experienced that. And if I did, I didn't have enough sense to realize.
Thank you for that. Oh, I see Paige raising her hand. Go ahead.
I agree with a lot of what Councilman Shabazz said there. Like, I feel like I've been fighting one resistance or another since, I was able to speak. It's just like in my blood, in my nature, like, but I do want to speak about a personal experience in my life. Like, I was always the outgoing, leader type person. And I had a struggle with depression in 2017. And it's really interesting. I had already started the nonprofit, but I was just losing faith in my ability to make it happen because I was a school teacher and now I'm in the field of nonprofits and business, and I didn't really know what I was doing. And then other things happened in my personal life, and I found myself like literally, clinical depression on my couch, can't get up. And I had the wherewithal. I went to my regular well visit, and I did the PHQ-9 survey, and I failed literally every single question. I was like, oh, I'm the worst. Oh, I'm the worst. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm depressed. I literally was like, wow, you fill that out all those years, and this particular time, it hit me, and I didn't even know it. I'm a yoga teacher too. There's a lot of us out there. So I was like, how does this happen? But my therapist that I found, he turned out to be one of the best social workers in Atlantic City. And after one session, he says to me, all right, what are you doing on Monday? And I'm like, I don't know, like laying on my couch, trying to get my kids off to school. And he said, meet me in Atlantic City at the Division of Family Services. So I was like, I half thought, is this guy going to kill me? Like, what is going on here? Like, is this normal? I've never been to therapy before. So I show up at the building, and it's the welfare office. And I walk in, and I'm like, I'm looking for John. Like, I couldn't remember his last name, and I'm like lost. And that place, he just kept taking me to different places until I found my place. I started bringing flowers to that building there every week, even though I was told no by the director. 2 years later, I kept going. I was like, well, just bring one vase and then it'll be okay. But like the therapist, had the intuition to see that like I had to get off the couch somehow, that when you're not following your heart, whatever it is, if it's art, if it's gardening, if you're not following that, it's very difficult to climb out of depression. So you have to look to like what's special to you. So he took me to Sister Jean's. That's how I learned about Sister Jean's Kitchen. He took me to the Covenant House. That's how my connection at the Covenant House. And when we started gardening at the Covenant House, those youth, I tell them every chance I get, they save me more than I ever saved them. Because I would lay on my couch and Miss Donna would text me and be like, are you coming? And I'm like, I'm going to be 5 minutes late, but I'm coming. And I'm literally dragging myself off the couch and into the car. But every time I got there, like I couldn't imagine wanting to be anywhere else. So, follow the Crops page, like look for those opportunities that people who who are feeling down, get them outside, even if it's not to one of our gardens, go to the parks, go to the beach. That's really important, I believe, when you feel like giving up.
Thank you so much for that page. You brought some great points up. With this saying, whenever you're feeling down or you need to feel good, go help somebody else, right? And really just focus on that passion. I find even for myself, when I'm feeling down and I really don't want to do anything, I start working on my passion again, and it starts to revive me a bit. So thank you for sharing. We're going to jump to Jamelia on this next question, someone directed to you. And Sasha asked, often people get overwhelmed with challenges so much that they allow negative emotions to prosper and they tend to lose sight of the goal. This can unfortunately delay their progress. What tips would you give people of all ages to get motivated again and chase their dreams? I mean, I think that's a great question for you, because I remember in your video, you mentioned how your salon failed a few times and still you wanted to do it, and you got to the place where you are now because you persisted. So with that said, I'm going to toss it to you.
I think you just have to think about your why. Just go back to the why. Why do you want to do it in the first place? As far as getting out of the depression, you got to do what you got to do. You really have to breathe. Find some people that resonate with, kind of what you do, who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And live. I can't put too much more into that, but I just live every day. I just live every day being grateful, happy. Once I wake up, that's a win for me. The rest, there's always someone to drop by and to say, how I've helped them with this, or, how you know, something I've done for them has made them, you know, a better person. So I hang on to those things, and I just keep trying to do more of those things and stay as positive as I can.
That's all you can do, right?
That's it. I don't have a blueprint. I just go at this thing every day, you know, being the
Right.
best me that I can be.
Right. And honestly, I think that is the blueprint, right? Intentionally,
Right.
you
Living
know,
it, yeah.
thinking of the things that make you happy, right? Intentionally bringing in positivity, even though you feel like crap, right? Thinking
yeah,
of the
a lot of
positive things, or
times-
thinking about helping other people, or how it could be worse, right? And that's how you resist those negative thoughts.
And like Brother Shabazz said, you know, like he didn't have the wherewithal to give up. Now, honestly, I come from that era too, but there have been some times where I'm like, what the heck am I doing? And what am I doing? What am I doing here? But I also keep in my head, you know, hey, no matter where you go, there you are. So I have to conquer, you know, this, to whereas I feel free, I can roam anywhere else.
Thank you so much for sharing, Jamelia. I'm going to go to our next question from Alexandra. And she's asking to all, I have another question for the panelists. With COVID-19 hitting Black and Brown communities at disproportionate rates, have you noticed that it has been more difficult for these communities to get access to the vaccine as well, especially in our area with only one county vaccination site? I'm actually going to toss that to Councilman Shabazz, because I know he has a bit more information on that regarding the city.
Right, that is an excellent question. And let me say three things real quick on that. The effort to get the vaccines out is marred by the absolute incompetence of the previous federal administration. I have to say that President Trump was an absolute disaster in getting us the truth, first of all, about the virus, because if you can remember, he lied and said it was just one person and it would be done in the spring and then it was to be done in the summer. And all of that set back what should have been a better distribution of the vaccine, first thing. The second thing, there's really two sites in the city, in the Landon County. There's one at the community college, and there's one at the convention center in Atlantic City. And some of the health centers have the vaccines. The question is, we don't have enough vaccines. We're trying to wrap up, when I say we, the whole country, the national effort is to ramp up and get more vaccines. We don't have enough vaccines for even the people who want it now. That's why people are standing in lines all over the country. You see them standing in lines. People are moving around. We have people coming from Pennsylvania down here to try to get in. We just don't have enough vaccines. The only thing that the answer, I believe, is a couple things. First of all, hopefully the Johnson & Johnson vaccine will get approved. There's only one shot. It doesn't have to be kept at a real low temperature. And hopefully that will give more people a chance to get vaccinated. The second thing is that we have to, all of us, this is what I said at our NACP meeting, I asked everybody to be a committee of one to try to overcome all this misinformation about the vaccine when it does come later in the spring and the early summer, where we have more vaccinations more vaccines available, more chance of people get vaccinated. Please work and talk to people in your circle to please take the vaccine when their time comes up. I can say it as an elected official. We can have athletes say it. We can do it on social media and all that. But as Jamila said, when someone gets in her chair, she is a direct link to them. She is a trusted advisor to them. When Jonathan runs into his young people, when Kristen runs into people, when Brother Lewis runs into people at the Covenant House, they have direct connections to people and people listen to them, and they are a daily presence in those people's lives. So you need to talk to people and convince them that the only way we get out of this thing is that people get vaccinated. And that's the truth. And I tell people, and I don't want to go on and on, but this is so important. I tell people who don't want to take the vaccine, who talk about the Tuskegee Project, which did come up and did happen, when they talk about how Black people have been mistreated in the medical industry, and that's true.
All that's true. That's a good history. But we're in a pandemic. And if someone has a better remedy than the vaccine, then they should come up with it and they should present it. And I think people might look at it. But if you don't have a remedy or a cure or a program equal to the vaccine, please encourage people to take it.
Thank you, Councilman Shabazz. We have one more question. I see we're coming up on our time, so I wanted to remain cognizant of that. But Yvette had another question. What advice would you give to the upcoming generations that want to make a change but don't know how? Where should they start? And I'm actually going to toss that to either Christian or Jonathan.
I'm hopping in on this one. Yourself. Start on yourself always. The idea, you know, it's so easy to want to jump in and do things and get involved, but it's like, you know, there's that thing on the airplanes where it's like, put your own oxygen mask on before you can put others on. Like, for real, take care of your physical, your mental, your health, your wellness, your mindset, and then you can be of value to people. Then you can actually bring something to the table. Don't go out there trying to change other people. Don't be trying to police other people's virtue or what they're doing. Really, really, really do the work on yourself. Like, there was an earlier question about how do you, what do you do overwhelmed with challenges, negative emotions? It's like, even stuff like that. It's like, you know, if you have something you want to do and you keep that belief that it's possible and that you want to do it, you'll orient to it. But if you ever feel yourself wavering, check in on your beliefs, because there's something in there that's like, I don't think I can do it. I don't think it's possible. I don't want to do it. And the minute you get that belief back on track, your body and your actions and your speech and all that will orient to it. And that's all internal. There's nothing external. And so, yeah, so like, and then the question of, make a change, like, and then that ripples out. Then the people around you, like, real quick, my brother was born again Christian like 15 years ago, and he went hard in the paint when he started out. So we're like, he wanted this, he was so excited, you could see it. He wanted to tell everyone about it, and he was like, right? And everyone's like, Burr. And then he just became this amazingly wonderful human and father and blah, blah, blah. And then, so now I'm like, how do you have all this money saved up and have 3 kids? And then he's like, well, let me tell you about Jesus. So like, just be the thing that people want to be like. And then you can be a powerful change agent. But until you embody it, it's hard. It's hard. Go ahead, Jonathan. I'm really into this shit.
That was so awesome. Hard to follow up on, but I'll say it like this: the 2 greatest moments in a person's life are the day that they are born, and the day they find out why. So when you find out your why, that will fuel your actions, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and explain or try to figure out what your why is. I understand my why. And as long as I'm living and breathing, I'm chasing after that, right? Am I perfect? No. Do I fail? Absolutely. But every day I try to better my impact in why I'm here. So find your why and go, right? Picture Leonidas, Spartan, 300, go, right? Live every day as if it was your last. What would happen? What would happen if every day that I woke up like, all right, I might not wake up tomorrow. So how will I take advantage of the time that I have now? Find your why. It'll fuel your passion.
Thank you so much, guys. Great, great, great advice. Find your why, right? I love that statement that you made, Jonathan, the day that you're born and the day you find out why. I mean, I really believe that's part of the journey, right? Once you find out who you are, your true authentic self, then that's when you can start to really give back to the world, right? So thank you so much for that. I do see some more questions coming in, but we're coming up on the end of our time, and I just want to do a quick exercise before we head out. And if we have some minutes afterwards to spare, then we can go back to the questions. But first, I wanted to go around with our panelists around our virtual roundtable. And if you all could just give me a one-liner of what resistance means to you after this whole conversation, after considering what you do and what you offer to the community, in a one-liner, tell me, what does resistance mean to you? And let's start with Paige. I'm sorry, we called on you earlier first. We can give you a break.
No, it's okay. You had to. It just went with the whole theme tonight. Pick on page. No, I'm just kidding. It just goes well, rolls off the tongue. For me, resistance, I love the word tenacity. It's the idea to piggyback off of what Jonathan was saying, like stay with it, stay with it. Resistance means like, it's not always a path of least resistance, it just keep going through it. Because if there's a break in the road, you can just go flow over it and keep going. Sometimes you got to go around it. Sometimes you got to go through it, but keep going.
Good, thank you. Keep going. All right, let's toss it. Lightning round. Jamelia, what is resistance to you?
Never stop. Keep going. Breakthrough. That's resistance to me. Breakthrough.
Breakthrough. Awesome. Who do we have? Tyrell.
Okay. It is resistance for me is embracing your difference, which is your power. Whatever your different is, whether that be your skin color, your artistry, whatever the case may be, embrace your difference as your power.
I love that. Thank you. Councilman Shabazz.
I wrote down marshaling and implementing your human resources to uplift humanity.
You came up with the whole dissertation that fast. That was awesome. I'm sorry. Can you repeat that one more time? We need to get that.
Okay, marshaling and implementing your human resources to uplift humanity.
That is so wonderful. Like, how did you even come up with that fast?
I'm
that's
engaged.
amazing.
Listen, I love this. I could do this all night. I think this is so powerful and so wonderful. And Christine, let me say again, your leadership is to be praised. This is such a good exercise. And the moderator, she's an excellent moderator. People think it's easy to do something like that. It's not easy. I tell you, I've done it for a long time. Excellent moderator.
Thank you.
The moderator brings out the best in the panelists, and you're a good panelist.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And yes, once again, thank you, Toyo. And I do want to pass that to Christian and Jonathan as well. What does resistance look like to you?
I'll hit it real quick. So it's funny. I live in the world of. I spent so much of my last couple of years in the act of getting rid of resistance. Like resistance became not a bad thing, but to me, like resisting the drift towards apathy. Like right now, there's a cultural drift towards apathy, resisting a status quo of distrust that causes us to lose our compassion. Like to me, that's the resistance I'm into right now. Is resisting the urge to go along with this dive downward and keeping it up. So things like this, the uplifting, the uprising, it's really, really a powerful part of that. So thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Jonathan.
Yeah, and so resistance for me personally would be knowing that I am more than my scars, right? That what was my pain and struggle then has become my strength today, and being a voice, right, in this generation, being a voice, standing up and saying, hey, that's not right. I'm gonna get involved and figure out how I can bring light to that and be of impact. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. So I have a task for you all before we leave. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. This is for everyone on the call to think about how you can arrive and how you can resist. Everyone has given you their examples of what resisting is to them, what it means to them, right? So I want you to consider what resistance means to you and how can you resist? How can you arrive, right? Something that you can do in the short term, not like, oh, next year I want to get this and do that and be this person in my community. And a lot of times when people think of resistance, they think of this grandiose act that you have to do, right? I have to be out on the streets protesting. I have to do this, but no, it's the small things that matter as well. It could be something that you're doing in your own life. It could be something that you're doing within your home, your household, your family, or it could be your community and the greater, right? So just take 30 seconds to think about what it is that you're going to do to arrive in the near future and set that intention for yourself. And I'll just give you a few moments to do that. see some people thinking. I like it. I see the wheels turning. And this is something that you can do outside of this too. Whenever you feel like you're losing a grip on life, you know, you're feeling down, you're feeling like you're losing your way, take a few moments, sit aside and figure out, what am I doing, right? Where am I trying to get to? What difference do I need to make in my life to either affect my own being or others around me, right? So take these intentions with you. You do not have to share. This is for you. Take them with you and expand upon them later on if you'd like to. But like I said, keep this going. It really helps you to find your perspective and stay on the task and on the path. Another way that you can immediately arrive is if you see, I just dropped a few links in the chat. One goes directly to our website, and one goes directly to a story bank tab that we have. So we created a story bank thanks to Marissa on the call, our multimedia content producer. We created a story bank prompt for you all regarding Black History Month and resisting racial injustice, right? So that's something that you can do immediately. Contribute your story to us so we can tell these stories. So once again, it's in the chat. I see Toby drop them once again. That'll take you right to that portal for you to submit those stories. And before I end, I did want to offer a chance to the panelists on the call. I know some of you mentioned owning your own businesses or your own organizations or being a part of organizations. I know Kaleem Shabazz is part of the NAACP. Paige has crops. Is there anything or any capacities in which you can offer to the audience members to volunteer, something that they can also do now?
I mean, I mentioned it a few times, but if you follow our page on Facebook or Instagram, as the weather warms up, there's lots of opportunities to come and volunteer in the garden. This year, we're going to do a sign-up sheet so you can sign up for your date ahead of time so we can make sure that the numbers are, you know, a safe number rather than my random days that I'm like, hey, I'm in AC. I think I've sent Christian a message like that, like, I'm here right now. Like, you want to come work in the garden? But that being said, you can actually message us and be like, yeah, I'm free next Thursday. Can I go somewhere and do something? And we'll find something to do. And if you don't want to come out, you can also work from home. We have a new program called the Seedlings Program where we're working with to fight against the infant and maternal morbidity rates. So yeah, there's things like right now we're collecting egg cartons. So there's always like little tasks like that that, you know, you can help with or send letters and things like that. So yeah, reach out.
Thank you so much. And if you can drop that link in the to your website in the chat.
Okay.
If I can, if people have an hour this Thursday, Thursday the 25th of this month, from 1 to 2 p.m., the Lansing Branch NAACP and the Coalition for a Safe Community, we're having a Zoom with the Attorney General from the state of New Jersey. It's going to be rolling out his overview on the use of force. And that is obviously a burning topic all across this country, law enforcement's use of force. And that's from 1 to 2 p.m. It's going to be on Zoom. And Christina, I'll give that to you so you can relate that. And it's also going to be on WEHA radio for people who don't have access to technology. WEHA radio is 88.7 and 100.3 FM. And for an hour, the Attorney General is going to be on there, and he's going to, as I said, review what he has done for the last year in overhauling the use of force, which has been done in 20 years here in New Jersey. So I would encourage people, if they have an hour, to listen to that and to carry that information forward. That's one of the flashpoints in our country, the involvement with police, law enforcement, and the community. In fact, I was just looking at every confrontation that we've had that has blown up across the country in the last 60 years has been with police and people in the community. So that's again 1 to 2 o'clock on the 25th of this month, Zoom and on radio.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I see people asking where the Zoom information will be. Once Councilman Shabazz gives that to me, I can disperse it to our email blast. So thank you for that. I'm also going to direct this to Ty, because I know you work at the Covenant House and you all are always looking for donations and things of that nature. So I'm going to invite you to share.
Okay, awesome. I'm gonna turn my camera off. Hopefully you can hear me. Yes, if you want to volunteer or donate, you can reach out to Jennifer Williams, who is over our donations department, and or reach out to myself and let me know that you want to get involved in any type of way. We are now doing our volunteering mostly through virtual. Like if you wanted to speak to the youth or share any empowerment messages with them, we can do that through Zoom, and just contact myself or Jennifer Williams at Covenant House, Atlantic City.
Thank you so much. And I don't want to skip over anybody else, Jamelia or Christian, Jonathan, anything else? Any other points of volunteering?
I would say just on my end, and Jonathan might have similar stuff or different stuff with his organization, but we're committed to and we're excited to tell more stories like this. We're going to continue to do so with Stories of AC. So if you have any people that you think should be highlighted or interesting ideas, definitely drop them to them. If it's not a Stories of AC type of project, independent business or something like that, reach out to us. I'm happy to talk and see if something would be a good fit, because it's such a fun, empowering thing to be able to do, and to be able to do it around stuff like this is always open to collaborations like that. So for sure.
Thank you.
I'd just like to let everybody know that I'm available for any type volunteer work. Just let me know, or anything that I can do at the shop, let me know. I'm open.
Good to know. Thank you. Jonathan, it looked like you were going to say something as well.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that hey, if you're interested in learning how to use this and a camera and just dive into the world of storytelling, I think Christian knows this really well, that I am actually fueled by teaching others the craft that I'm still learning, and so on. So hey, stay in contact, connect, reach out to Christina or find a way to connect with what we're doing, and it would be an honor to grow the team, right, Christian? And just to have a powerful team out of this as we continue to cover stories.
Thank you so much. I want to throw this back to Toyo. Just in case you had any closing remarks. I know we're over time now, so I thank you all for staying with us for so long. I always forget how fast these things go. We need to have like a 5-hour event because the conversation just gets so good, right? But I do want to toss it back to Toyo for any closing remarks that she may have.
Just gratitude. I'm so thankful that we were able to have an event like this. Whether time went quickly or not, I feel like there was so much knowledge and valuable advice given today. So I am so thankful for us being able to have this event, for all of the panelists, for everyone who did the movies. This was just truly amazing, and I'm glad that I was able to be a part of it. And thank you again, Christina and Toby.
Well, thank you so much for the work that you did. Keep abreast of what's going on with Stories of AC. We will have those videos posted on our site soon from Christian and Jonathan. And browse our site a bit. We have other story bank prompts that you can contribute to, and just keep abreast of what we have going on. I do want to just mention we have a month called March Moves coming up, and we'll be hosting quite a few events for that. So stay tuned to our social media, our website, to keep abreast and know what's going on. So I'm sure you're not going to want to miss the events that we have coming up. Thank you so much, Toby. Am I missing anything? Would you like to say anything?
No, stay tuned. All of our videos are going to be launching also onto our YouTube channel, which is currently in motion. So hopefully soon we'll have all of our videos stacked up in one cool spot too, and we'll be able to easily link through our website also. We are so grateful to spend time together, truly. Thank you.
Yes. Well, then, if that is it, I just want to thank you all again so much for sharing your time with us, and hopefully we will see you all soon.
Mm-hmm.
Have a great night.
Your friends.
Bye-bye now.
Everybody be safe.